This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Thursday, the 25th day of February in the year 2021. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. With the first anniversary of the closure of schools across the country because of COVID-19 approaching, the former Minister of Education and her successor clashed in the National Assembly today about how the education sector has been handling the situation. As the budget debates enter day 3, a PNU AFC Member of Parliament and former Education Minister Nicolette Henry told the House that the government has failed to make education delivery during the pandemic a priority issue. She said many families in difficult circumstances have been affected, and the Education Ministry appears to have no clear plan to address their needs.
I've had to ask that if anyone who is sitting here on the government side can articulate where in this budget are the most vulnerable young people catered for in terms of in-school and or blended intervention for most at-risk populations. Mr. Speaker, this is a serious matter. Parents are reaching out every day for assistance with remote learning. As these debates are ongoing, many students, including teenage mothers and other disadvantaged populations, including learners from low-income households and remote areas, have not yet been engaged meaningfully for the new school year, which has commenced sometime last year, the last quarter of last year.
The Ministry of Education has been making worksheets available to students for completion at home. While some teachers in the public sector have been engaging in online teaching, many students have not been able to be part of those virtual teaching sessions because of their inability to access the internet. The former Education Minister said the situation is unfortunate and must be addressed.
Based on what is out there, I think it is both unfortunate and regrettable that so many people in difficult circumstances are not satisfied with the ministry's effort, yet this budget is void of any measure to address our most disadvantaged and marginalized students specifically.
In response, Education Minister Priya Manik-Chand argued that the Ministry of Education has been making efforts to reach out to those students who have found themselves locked down in at-home learning.
From the 2nd of August to Boxing Day, we had done worksheets. We had employed the learning channel towards learning. We had reopened schools for the exam classes. We had put instruction on the radio. We had started online teaching. So all of these fancy plans, the honorable member says she was in place for the same time that we were in place.
And the Education Minister also spoke about the various rounds of consultations that her ministry has hosted with educators and parents about the way forward and the best ways to address the needs of children who are out of school because of the pandemic.
For children, based on consultations with teachers, parents, and students, we reopened 4th, 5th, and 6th form. But we said to the parents and students, if you don't want to come, that's fine. We will support your learning at home. When we opened, we made sure all the schools were cleaned and sanitized, and that we gave to each student, teacher, sanitizing equipment, face masks, face shields, and vitamin support. Our little Guyana, Mr. Speaker, was one of the only countries that gave so many things to our parents, to our students and teachers, to each student and teacher.
Minister Manik-Chand also revealed that a learning channel is now being used to broadcast curriculum instructions. She said that the channel will be expanded with 5 additional channels being added. According to the Education Minister, it will also be expanded to the hinterland communities, and television sets and satellite receivers will be provided to the indigenous communities to assist with the education process. Schools across the country shut their doors in March of last year on the advice of the Health Ministry, as the country recorded its first set of COVID-19 cases. While there has been a gradual reopening of the various sectors in the country, schools remain closed, and there is worry globally about the long-term impact the extended closure could have on students. The Education Ministry in Guyana has indicated that it will be guided by the Ministry of Health on any planned reopening. More news coming up in just a moment.
GTT is celebrating our 30th year of proudly serving Guyana. You're invited to join the celebration with 30% off your internet for 3 months when you sign up for Blaze High-Speed Internet, powered by Plume Home Pass. Promotion runs from January 29th to February 28th. Take advantage of this offer today using promotional code BLAZE330. Visit gtt.gy Blaze Discount 17 for full details. GTT and you, together we rise.
You taste the cheese, you hear the crunch. Grab a zoomers and zoom into fun. And with the first taste, you feel like you don't want it done. Blast off to a whole new place with every single bite. The cheesy goodness bring your taste buds alive. So let's just zoom into fun with this wheel-shaped delight. Zoomers, zoomers, zoom into fun.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as Filaria. But what is Filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then, since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Mom, what are you doing with GPL on your list?
Child, you forgot I have to pay GPL?
You got time with GPL?
I have to keep these lights on. The customers who think in that manner and refuse to honor their obligation to GPL are obviously not playing their part in ensuring quality service delivery. So, I will continue to pay my GPL bill on time, every time.
I recognize the value of your point, Mom. You were right.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Fuel it up and drive, Super 95. Tune up. Protect your fuel system, boy. High mileage and performance, boy.
Guyoil's Super 95 gasoline gives you more reasons to drive and is available at 56 service stations nationwide. For affordable price, high performance, and high mileage, choose Guyoil's Super 95 gasoline.
Fuel it up and drive.
The Ministry of Health is cautioning citizens against taking the vaccines to fight coronavirus within 24 hours of taking pills to fight filaria. Responding to a question submitted by News Source, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony said, while there is no evidence of any effect of the two being taken together, out of an abundance of caution, the Ministry of Health is advising against the two being taken within the same time period.
There's nothing that prevents taking the vaccine if you've had Filaria pills. Internally, we have come up with a protocol that says, okay, just to make sure that we're able to monitor people to see whether there's any side effects, don't take the two things on the same day. And that's just out of an abundance of caution. So when we give you the vaccine, we want to have enough time to monitor you to make sure that, you know, there's no reaction. And if there's a reaction, that we can actually attribute that reaction to the vaccine that you have taken.
The Ministry of Health and the Pan American Health Organization are currently conducting a national mass drug distribution campaign to fight filaria. Some in the medical field recently expressed some concern about the vaccines for COVID-19 and the filaria pills being taken together, and the impact that could have. So far, Guyana has only started to administer the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines to health workers. Vaccines for the wider population are expected within the next month. The pill distribution campaign to fight filaria comes to an end in March. Welcome back. The government has come under heavy criticism from opposition Member of Parliament Tabitha Sarabohali over its response to the coronavirus pandemic and its efforts to address the impact of the pandemic on Guyanese. During her budget debate presentation yesterday, the APNU-AFC parliamentarian said Budget 2021 follows the lead of Budget 2020 in providing no clear plan or program to address the impact of the pandemic on Guyana.
5 months ago, Mr. Speaker, the 2020 budget gave no suggestion that the PPP had any idea how to deal with this pandemic. And in the 2021 budget speech, it does no better. The reality, Mr. Speaker, is that the 2021 budget speech, just like Budget 2020, which was erroneously dubbed an emergency budget, outlines no clear policy, no clear plan, no clear program that would help Guyanese recover from the effects of the pandemic. Budget 2021 constantly refers to the so-called emergency budget of 2020, which completely lacked the elements of what would be required in an emergency and only cater to ensuring landlords and some private sector entities benefit.
Mrs. Sarabohali also touched on the government's $25,000 COVID relief grant and the many complaints about its distribution. Many persons have complained publicly about not being provided with a grant because they are not the owners of the houses where they live.
There are thousands of eligible Guyanese who have not yet received their $25,000. But the members on the opposite side are so caught up in their grand scheme of destroying any and all potential wealth in the black community to care whether the neediest of our society were able to receive the meager $25,000. That a recovery is being touted, and there is no discussion of whether the $25,000 cash grant was adequate and whether the measures had the intended impact is atrocious. Too many of our fellow Guyanese were given pink slips or told they were not catered for because they were squatting or were just simply bypassed.
The Member of Parliament said the coronavirus cases in Guyana are still on the increase as there is very little enforcement of the COVID-19 guidelines. She added that there has been an unofficial reopening of the country, supported and encouraged by the government, even with the absence of a comprehensive plan to deal with the impact of the virus.
You see, Mr. Speaker, the PPP has practically given up on managing the spread of COVID-19, leaving Guyanese to fend for themselves. The PPP awaits a vaccine. What is most ironic, Mr. Speaker, is that even though they have played lip service to placing all their eggs in the vaccine basket, there is no reference to the purchase of vaccines in the 2021 budget. They could not find the money to purchase the main thing they are hinging their path to recovery on, a vaccine. Instead, Mr. Speaker, they are waiting for donations and freeness while boasting of a $383 billion budget.
The opposition member of parliament told the House that the budget should have catered for the purchase of vaccines to cover the entire population, rather than wait on donations. She said the government continues to fiddle as the country burns, and the impact of the pandemic must be addressed. Well, as the government moves ahead with its planned Eccles to Mandela Avenue Road project, more than 20 companies have submitted bids to execute the project. The Central Housing and Planning Authority, which will be overlooking the project, opened the bids today at the National Tender Board. Chief Executive Officer of the CHNPA, Sherwin Greaves, said the project is part of the government's infrastructure development plan.
Persons traversing the eastbound corridor will be able to do so with much greater ease and comfort. This new four-lane highway will open lands for commercial and residential purposes, and will turn this thoroughway into a vibrant and bustling zone.
Mr. Greaves also stated that the CHNPA will be working to ensure the project is completed in keeping with the set criteria.
We can assure everyone that we will ensure this project is completed successfully, with all the required quality standards in place and all timelines strictly kept. We will hold the contractors accountable, as we will accept nothing less than what they have signed up for. Quality will not be sacrificed over expediency. Our president has made a promise. We will ensure it is kept.
Last Wednesday, a pre-bid meeting was hosted by the Central Housing and Planning Authority to sensitize bidders on key requirements, environmental impacts, the procurement process, and all other necessary elements in the preparation and execution of the transformational project. When completed, the four-lane road will run a length of 2.8 kilometers with a width of 3.5 meters. It will also feature 12 reinforcement concrete bridges with single walkways. The road project is slated for completion in November of this year. Still with infrastructure, already grappling with the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on business, the owners of several businesses along Sheriff Street and Mandela Avenue in the city are pleading with the authorities to ensure the roadworks are completed soon. The road expansion project has been ongoing for more than a year. With the widening of the roads now being done, businesses have found themselves being displaced as new drainage systems are being developed and access to their businesses is limited. Some business owners told news sources that since the construction works commenced, they have seen an almost 40% drop in earnings, as many of their customers avoid the areas. One businessman said while they are all grateful for the development work, some more plans should have been put in place to cater to those who want to access businesses along the two main roads. He said he's struggling to keep his business open during this time, even with delivery services readily available. Some delivery services have also been avoiding the area. The Mandela Avenue Sheriff Street project upgrade is being funded through a $66 million loan from the Inter-American Development Bank. The project was started under the previous APNU-AFC government, which also came under criticism for the slow pace of the works and the many delays that bugged it from the beginning. Works Minister Juan Edgil has indicated that as of 2020, some $2.7 billion of the total funding had already been spent on the project. He said it should have already been completed. The new completion date for the project is August of this year. Turning now to matters in foreign affairs, with the case management conference set for tomorrow in the Guyana-Venezuela case before the International Court, Foreign Affairs Minister Hugh Todd told the National Assembly this afternoon that the government of Guyana will be sparing no money to ensure the Guyanese public is properly educated and informed on the border issues. Although most of his budget debate presentation dealt with local politics and not foreign affairs issues, the minister said when it comes to matters related to Guyana's territorial integrity and sovereignty, the country stands as one. He said the Foreign Affairs Ministry intends to launch a massive public relations drive to ensure citizens are aware of the facts related to the border case and issues surrounding Guyana's territorial integrity and sovereignty.
Monies would also be allocated to a National Public Relations Committee, a committee that will drive a national PR campaign, because it is felt that we need to be very proactive over the next several years by educating our people. And this was also raised in the Foreign Relations Subcommittee, where we all agreed that we should have a massive PR campaign, which includes our grade school children right through to adulthood, to bring everyone on board, to speak with one message, to be able to ensure that each and every one understands the value of maintaining and protecting our territorial integrity. So we're not going to spare any monies in this effort.
Foreign Minister Todd also told the National Assembly that through budgetary allocations, his ministry will also be hosting regular stakeholders meetings on border matters to ensure that national stakeholders are always updated. The first of the stakeholders meetings was recently held. Guyana had cause recently to alert the United Nations and other members of the international community when the Venezuelan Navy made its way into Guyana's exclusive economic zone and detained 12 Guyanese fishermen. The fishermen were taken to Venezuela and kept in custody for almost 2 weeks. They were eventually released on the instruction of the Venezuelan president. The relationship between Guyana and Venezuela remains tense as Venezuela continues with its claim of Guyana's land and maritime space, even as Guyana continues to accept Venezuelan migrants fleeing the hardships back in their homeland. In the courts, the 23-year-old woman who was held at the Eugene F. Correa Airport at Ogle with pellets of cocaine in her stomach and an additional package stashed in her vagina appeared in court this morning and pleaded guilty to the drug trafficking charges. The woman, Tamira Melville, appeared at the Sparendam Magistrates Court and pleaded guilty to the charge of trafficking narcotics. The cocaine that the woman was trafficking had a total weight of 775 grams. With her guilty plea, the presiding magistrate sentenced her to 4 years in jail and fined her $798,000. Melville was an outgoing passenger at the airport on Saturday when police noticed her acting strangely. She was searched and a condom-filled packet of cocaine was found in her vagina. The woman also admitted that she had swallowed more than 70 cocaine-filled pellets. She was taken by the police to a city hospital where she excreted the swallowed pellets. Although the 23-year-old woman has pleaded guilty to the charge, investigators are continuing their probe to track down her supplier and the mastermind of the operation.
This is Annie Bina. She's a clothing designer. She also likes to hang out with her friends. However, a life-changing event is about to occur. The mosquito that bit Annie Bina is infected with a tiny worm that causes lymphatic filariasis, also known as filaria. But what is filaria? Filaria is a disease that affects a person's lymphatic system, causing legs, arms, breasts, or scrotum to swell and eventually remain in a swollen state that cannot go back to normal. Filaria shows no symptoms during the early years. Untreatable chronic symptoms can appear as late as 20 years after infection. Since there are no symptoms in the beginning, most infected persons do not know they're infected, like Annie Bina. When the symptoms begin to appear, nothing will be able to make them disappear. Are you sure that you've not been infected like Annie Bina? What can you do then since you see no symptoms? Take your pills. Prevention is the best cure. A message from the Ministry of Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Due to the impacts of the global pandemic, COVID-19 across our nation, Essential organizations like us have chosen to adopt innovative approaches to meet the emerging needs of our customers while protecting our employees. Here are some quick tips to make managing your GPL bill easier while we practice social distancing. To register for electronic billing, you can use the e-billing tab on your website. To access your bill balance, you can use 4 options: the website live chat at gpl.net, the online inquiry on our website under billing, SMS Freedom by texting your GPL reference number to 624-0400 or 608-8400, or call our call center at 226-2600. A message from the Guyana Power and Light Incorporated.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right, walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Across the region right now, Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arriaza said yesterday that the head of the European Union's delegation in Caracas had 72 hours to leave the country and declared her persona non grata after the EU imposed new sanctions on Venezuelan officials this week. In announcing the action against the Portuguese national, the foreign minister said that the sanctions against 19 Venezuelan officials was truly unacceptable. The sanctions were a response to legislative elections won by President Nicolas Maduro's allies that Venezuela's opposition and many Western democracies deemed fraudulent. 2 European Union diplomats said the move by Caracas was unwelcome, but will not change the bloc's policy, end sanctions, or derail efforts to mediate a way forward towards new, free and fair presidential elections in Venezuela. Shortly after announcing the expulsion, the foreign minister said in another statement that he had also delivered protest notes to diplomats from Germany, France, the Netherlands, and Spain. At least 79 inmates have been killed in simultaneous fights in 4 jails in Ecuador, one of the deadliest incidents in the country's prisons in years. The military and riot police have been deployed in an effort to quell the violence, which started 2 days ago. Experts say the fights were prompted by a battle for control of the jails after a gang leader was killed back in December. The number of dead is higher than the total of inmates killed in 2019 and 2020 combined. Early on Wednesday, the prison authorities said the situation is under control. They updated the number of dead and said the violence had also engulfed a 4th jail. And finally tonight, international news. Australia has passed a world-first law aimed at making Google and Facebook pay for news content on their platforms. The legislation had been fiercely opposed by the US tech giants, with Facebook blocking all news content to Australians over the row. Facebook agreed to reverse its decision after robust negotiations with the government, which led to changes to the law to address some of their concerns. The law is seen as a test case for similar regulation around the world. The amended legislation, the News Media Bargaining Code, was passed by Australia's House of Representatives earlier today, after going through the Senate. Facebook and Google had earlier argued that the law fundamentally misunderstands how the internet works. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley, reporting. Have a safe night.